What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix you have ever experienced? Preface. When I was in high school, my little sister, mom, and I would eat dinner together every evening and tell each other about our days. At the time, my little sister was young, only in elementary school. On Monday, during the spring break trip, we were all having dinner, and my sister told us about how she and our next door neighbors were playing in the yard with their new cat when it got loose outside. They had to spend the whole day looking for it. Fast forward 2 days at dinner time, and my sister tells me exact same story she had told me 2 days prior. My mom and I looked at each other funny because we both clearly remembered the cat story. When we asked my sister if she had mistaken the day since she told us the story on Monday, she gave us a blank look and had no memory of it. The creepy part is, when we called our neighbors to ask them about the cat incident, they told us all of it happened that day, Wednesday. They weren't even in town on Monday. So my sister had told us the story 2 days before it happened and had no memory of it? How is that possible? Where was my sister on Monday? My mother did all her GYN appointments with a doctor in downtown Austin. He was on the fifth floor of this hospital building and had a longtime nurse reception named Allison. I remember attending her appointments when I was little, and my mother would make a game of finding the office and being in the waiting room, which was colorfully decorated with a forest scene. Allison was a super sweet woman who was half babysitter for us kids, too. She would read us books and give us coloring books and occasionally even listen to our dreadful knock knock jokes. We all referred to her as Alice Wonderland. Anyways, years down the road, I got married and pregnant and started searching for an OB since I had moved back to Austin relatively recent before that. My mother suggested I go see the doctor who was super young, low 30s, when I was born, was still in business. Well, I could not find his name in the hospital directory, so I figured I would just swing by the office and check. My mother happened to be in town. She had moved a few years ago and came with me. We both joked about it being so familiar but reversed situations now. As we reached the stairs, we ran into a problem. There was no fifth floor of the hospital office building. Odd. We both must have misremembered it. We knew it was on the top floor, so it must have been the fourth. Nope, not there. We thought, well, maybe we're in the wrong building. Except we parked in the same parking garage thing from 20 years ago and walked in the same route. That doctor does not exist. Never did, apparently. My mother and my brother and I are the only ones who remembered him and Alice in Wonderland. We asked around, including among the hospital staff. We even looked at our birth certificates, which are new copies, and just listed attendant physician. One of the childhood memories is fake, but shared with my brother and mother. Before making an offer on our house, my husband and I went on a viewing with our 3-year-old daughter, whom we left with the babysitter the first time we saw the house. As we walked in, I told her she could use the room. She said, I want the dinosaur room, and ran upstairs. Okay, 3 years old, say random stuff. A moment later, she called out, Here it is, and sure enough, the closet in her bedroom was covered with dinosaur stickers. My husband, the realtor, and I were all freaked out. The kid acted as if she knew the stickers were there, but none of us remembered seeing them before. We certainly hadn't talked about it. The house was vacant and immaculately clean. It was an estate sale. We left the stickers up. More coincidence than a glitch, but another fun layer. My daughter shares the name with a Pokemon, which we didn't know at the time. Years later, when she got into Pokemon, she recognized her namesake was part of her sticker collection. This happened to my family, if not me personally. Thanks to time zones, it's also a confusing story to tell. My brother was taking a trip out west. From my dad's perspective, he dropped my brother off at the airport before work. My brother was supposed to have an hour before his flight, followed by a 4-hour flight. After work, about 8 hours later, my dad received a phone call from my brother. So, from my dad's perspective, my brother should have been in his destination for less than 3 hours. But to my brother, he took his flight, got to his destination, was picked up by friends, went to dinner, spent the night, spent the following day sightseeing, and called my dad that evening. He thought he'd been there over 24 hours. The confusion ended in a weird argument, but both stick to their version of events and both have things like printouts of flights to prove that they were right. I have no idea how either my dad lost a day or my brother gained one. When I was a kid, I used to explore the forest near my home. I spent hours and hours just wandering around during the summer. I got this distinct memory of crossing a really rough, muddy valley with bunched down trees and coming over the top of the ridge on the other side, out of the woods, to look down on what I remember was fields of stone ruins. It was getting later and I had to get home, and I always planned to go back and explore them. I think I ended up having to go back to school after and didn't look for them again until much later. But I thought about them a lot. Well, I never found them. I got older and developed a better grasp of my surroundings, the layout of the town, the size and the shape of the woods. And that's when I realized the ruins I thought I saw could possibly not been where I thought I saw them. I'm forced to assume I just imagined it. Or I have one theory about my similar shaped hill that overlooks a bunch of houses, which maybe my childhood brain confused for ruins in the light of sunset. I really don't know. Sure, it was disappointing to realize, though, that I'll never get to explore those amazing ruins I thought I saw. There was one night in the mid 90s when I was with my ex, and there was a big yellow orange full moon, so we decided to go out for a drive. We lived in a small West Texas town, so we didn't have to go too far out of town to get to the countryside. After a short drive, she decided to become lovey dovey, so we were near in a small town rest area just on the outskirts of town. We parked, and instantly the mood changed, and she picked up on it too. There was a van parked further down in the area, and for some reason, my eyes kept going to it. I kept feeling like we were being watched, even though I couldn't see anyone in the front area of the van. My ex goes from being loving to apprehensive, and she asked me, "What's wrong?" But I couldn't explain it. Everything just felt off, the moon, the van, the area, the music, and I just had a feeling like we weren't supposed to be there or that we were interrupting something. I had a terrible feeling that the car wasn't going to start, which would have been a really bad situation because there was absolutely no one around except for whoever was in that van, and it was nighttime. So the little town, which was only about a mile or two away, was mostly closed except for gas stations. This was also before cell phones were mainstream and affordable, so we didn't have that luxury. Fortunately, the car started and we got the hell out of there. But as we were leaving, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw that a few people had gotten out of the van and were looking in our direction. I'm not sure if this classifies as a glitch, but I think we both picked up on something that night that maybe had saved our lives, and it was definitely creepy. Not sure what you would consider this, but it's creepy nonetheless. December 22nd, 1998. It's 9 a.m. and my aunt makes a surprise visit to my house. My parents are divorced and my mom is at work, so she decides to treat my brother and I to a movie. It's now 10 a.m. and we're sitting in the movie theater watching the movie. I'm getting bored and my mind wanders. I suddenly have a thought flashing through my head. Which parent would you rather die first? Being a kid, I weighed the option. Maybe my mom because she's so strict. Maybe my dad because I don't see him very often. Then I shake the idea out of my head and think to myself, don't even think about this now because it won't happen for a very long time. The movie ends and we drive back to my house. My mom is home, which is weird because she should be at work. And I remember making a joke to my aunt that maybe she got fired finally. My mom hated her job and boss and constantly joked about how she wished they would fire her already so she could collect unemployment and find something better. I walked in and my mom tells my dad, an armed guard, has been shot and killed during the robbery. He was gunned down at 10:02. The only reason my mom was home was because her sump pump broke and the neighbors called her and said the lawn was flooding and icing over. The only way she found out he was killed is when she turned on the news and there was a breaking report. About an hour after, she got a phone call from the police and hospital. More weirdness, my dad was 44 years old. He died on 12/22/98. He was gunned down at 12:02 and pronounced dead at 11:22. Years earlier, when my parents were still married, they were fighting, and my dad said something to my mom. You're going to feel sorry the day I go to work and get shot in the head. My mom remembers he said this in December too, because she was putting up Christmas decorations. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun reading these, y'all. And I know like probably 8 out of 10 of these rationally made sense but didn't at the time. And our memory is not 100% accurate. So over the years, it can get changed up and actually mixed with other stories. And, you know, it could be that. But I know for a fact that there's actual glitches in the matrix all the time. Some are caught on camera, and some you might have lived in your personal life. So if you have any stories to tell me, please put them in the comments. All right, y'all. Have a good rest of y'all day and God bless.